Welcome to the Great Awakening Ministry. I am Minister and Yogini Joanne Lee, and on this week's show, we have Antony Rosenbaum. Antony has been aware of spirit and healing energy from a young age and had a spirit guide who advised him. He studied meditation, which became a very expedient way for spirit to enhance its dialogue with him, and he worked mediumistically, holding a home circle, and for 6 years ran a medium-based self-development open circle at the London Spiritual Mission, where he was a director and gave various talks. Antony is a trance overshadow medium who is consulted by those who wish to have a spiritual and practical overview of the purpose of their life and understand their karmic and past history to overcome obstacles, which helps them move forward and create more expanded, calmer, and more satisfying lives. He also provides a direct form of channel healing in person, online, or absent. Antony works in collaboration with Spirit Academy, devised by Jamie Coombs. Along with other practitioners, they bring different healing and self-development modalities together in one place, tailor-made for clients' best and most appropriate needs, assuring them of full attention, confidentiality, and support. They work individually and together, providing one-on-one sessions, workshops, and retreats.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Antony, welcome to the Great Awakening Show.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, on this really hot summer's day in England. So, honestly, Antony, we're really, really pleased for you to give all of our audience the information and your divine wisdom about being a medium and what it all entails, because it's just fascinating. So first of all, can you please tell us about being aware of spirit and the healing energy from a young age and how that happened, and your dynamic internal guidance from your guide?
So, I grew up in a fairly uncomfortable environment, a fairly stressful environment. And because of that, I was fairly aloof, quite shy. And I think the introduction by Tadoon, who's my spirit guide, came at a point when I really felt quite separate from everybody, not really heard, not really listened to. But I noticed that rather than harumphing inside my head or little moans to myself, I was actually getting a different voice, but this time it wasn't within my head. It was a feeling. It was from my sense of instinct, from my heart. And it was accompanied by a big swelling of support and love and compassion, which was in such contrast with the thoughts I was having at the time. And because of that, and because it was quite different from what I'd experienced before, I knew it was something else. I got to feel that it was an outside communication. He didn't at first really introduce himself in the sense that he didn't say, I am Tadoon and I am this and I am that. What he did do was calm me down and start to give little bits of insight of how I should consider that other people may also not be very happy. And it's because of that they were behaving in the way that they were, and therefore perhaps start to look at things differently. Now, I was very young at that time, and it was explained, communicated in a way which was appropriate for my age then. but it built up and it became more explanatory, and broadened the older I became.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And then, you know, you went into your spirit, you know, into your spiritual mediumship. Um, and how was you made aware by spirit of your channel healing ability, which was also effective from a great distance? How was you, you know, how did you come into that? I mean, I know that you went to various, you know, channelers, and you had lots of mentors and all that over the years, but how was the initial, you know, right, it was sometimes, because for people it's given to them, isn't it? Or it's just, you
Yeah.
know, from spirit, and it's a way of using that. How did you understand that?
So building upon the internal dynamic that I was having with Tadoon, as I started to trust it more, and to trust it by seeing that how I handled things would get a better result than how I had previously, this sort of bled, I suppose, into the intercommunications and the relationships I was having with people. I was able to calm them down a bit more. I was able to maneuver and navigate in ways that I might not have done beforehand. And then it then became more apparent, more tangible, when one day I was in the wood opposite where we lived. I was brought up in Welwyn Garden City, and there's a lovely wood opposite, directly opposite where we lived. And I was in there alone, wandering around, and I became aware, just a sense, an instinct, that I wasn't alone. There were other things around me, although there was nobody visible. Although I feel that my memory may have altered from that, because I keep being nudged by Tadoon to say, actually, yes, you did see them, but I'm not sure about that. The jury's out. But it was a circle. I could feel it was a circle. And I could feel that these were very kind, but authoritative energies around me. It was not a two-way conversation. It was very much, we've brought you here into this environment so that you could hear what we're going to suggest to you. And what they suggested was, you've had an introduction to communicating with something. They didn't say somebody, something which you can't see. I never saw Tadoon. In my mind's eye, I've had fleeting images,
Yeah.
but I've never seen him in terms of physically seeing him. But we can build upon that if you like the idea of it. You've seen that you can alter how other people can feel. You can make people feel safer. And you can behave in a way that perhaps some of your school friends, or although I didn't have many of those at the time, and other people react.
Mm.
They didn't use the word special, but they sort of intimated that I was different, let's say.
Yeah. A channel, you know,
Exactly.
opening yourself up as a channel. Mm.
Exactly. And I didn't understand that at the time. I mean, I, like everybody of my age, I was fascinated by wizards and ghosts and all the rest of it, but we all knew they were sort of stories. This was real. I was actually communicating, talking. And whilst they were talking, I felt this enormous sense of uplift and warmth and love and generosity, where there was no requirement. And because I considered them adult, as it were, as a child would perceive them, they were very different from the adults that I was not necessarily having the greatest time with. So it was an introduction to how one could be. And they said, as I just pointed out, that they suggested that if I wanted to, later on, I could explore and that I should seek out people
Yeah.
who are like me. And this is way before the internet, of course.
Yeah.
So it was a question of, I can't actually remember how I found them, but I found them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they enhanced your ability, and you grow more confident in, in that ability, and realizing I am a channel, for spirit. Because it's really funny that you said about that circle, because it reminded me of when I was young and I started meditating and I felt them all around me in a circle.
Yeah.
It was really powerful. Yeah, it was amazing.
Glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, guiding us. Yeah.
It really set me up beautifully for the future. And it really gave me hope. And also because I was able to do this and nobody else seemed to be able to do this, I did question, am I a bit of a nutter?
Yeah.
Of
course.
is this just in my head? But this was very definitely not in my head.
Yeah. And you felt divinely protected. You see, that's what I think is the most important, because so many people are scared of spirit, of mediumship, of the other side, the dark spirits. But I'm saying I've never ever had that around me. I've always felt divinely protected, and in that peaceful, blissful place when I go into that meditation and, connect always.
Absolutely. Well, what I discovered later on, and is a very, very big part of the teachings that I provide, that it is the head that makes these things scary, not your essential self, your fundamental self, which comes through your heart and your instinct. When the head feels that it's losing control, then it brings all sorts of fears. And as a child, of course, you get excited by fear. It is exciting. When you don't need or wish for that any longer, or at least your natural state of being rather than an entertainment, you realize that when you put your awareness into other areas of your system, then you work with it, and it's the last thing that's scary. It's everything you just said. It's supportive, it's loving, it's glorious.
Exactly. And people should not be scared, because it's just the unknown, but when I say when you're connected to the divine, to spirit, that's divine love, and you'll never be alone.
No, I mean, the mind is, in my opinion, based on fear, on vulnerability.
Yeah.
We come out of our mothers and we're utterly dependent upon everything, food and love and shelter and all the rest of it. And we are utterly dependent upon. And there's that narrative running through us to a greater or lesser degree throughout our lives. And we depend upon that which keeps us safe. So when we have the instinct to start listening to something else other than what we've been relying upon all our lives, of course, it requires us to find an intention which goes beyond what we've utilized before.
Yes.
And that's always a bit scary until we get excited by it. Once we've got the knack for it.
Yeah. Because as a yogini, I believe, the spiritual world, heaven, which is our true home, the heavenly realms, our soul is always there. We are soul consciousness. We are energetic spiritual beings, and our soul is always there. And when we're born, a part of that comes down into physicality, as the soul consciousness, into this. But we are always there, that we are always connected to it. We just have to realize and awaken to that. You're always connected to divine love. You're always divinely protected. And I think that's one thing that's kept me beautiful and safe throughout all of my, through that. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Absolutely. It's realizing that the brain in our heart center, obviously not our physical heart, it's the chakra that aligns with it, that is what can be trusted and a true relationship built upon, not the processor that is our mind that
The true self.
navigates
The
in
true
different
self comes
ways.
through. Yeah, the true self, the true divine self comes through.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I think is very important to state is that none of us has the ownership of the truth. There isn't the truth. It's our perspective. As one of my tutors always said, if you imagine that you're sitting in a circle around a huge crystal, which is faceted, you will see the light bounce off and the colors differently from everybody else that's sitting around that same thing. So when people say, oh no, this is the truth.
No.
No, it's not.
It's all different sacred points of view. Many people will see one thing and each one will see it, in a different way. So it's our sacred point of view. But I believe that everyone has we're coming into, I believe we're in a great awakening. I believe that we all have these abilities, and especially now, it's like fastening up. And so many people are realizing that they can have a connection to the divine, to spirit, and that, they can give out spiritual healing, through themselves and uplift
absolutely
the whole world. This is the time for us to go in and do our work and then give that out, and what you're doing is just really wonderful. And so
could I just add a little thing to that?
Sure, of course.
I think it's also very important for people to know that titles don't change anything.
No.
You can be any kind of religion, come from any dogma. You can be an atheist. You can be an agnostic. It's the title. It can be anything from, oh, well, I felt that with no spiritual affiliation whatsoever, to somebody who is a yogi or a yoga who will retreat and will be in a meditative state most of their conscious life.
Yes.
It can be everything. So we are, from my perspective, all, as exactly as you said, we are all connected. It's the labeling that gets in the way.
And you're so true about that. No one is higher than anyone. Someone with a master's degree, may not even open themselves up holistically. It's all relative. It's all relative. And we can communicate, once you start becoming more aware and start going in and start meditating more, which you said is the way that you enhance your dialogue with spirit, and same with me. I think it's the key way of communicating with the divine. But then, you get signs, there's all different ways you can hear. It's your divine intuition, isn't it? So you can hear words, which come to me now, or some people see the visions. Some people have just an intuitive knowing of which way, to go. And then they go out into nature, and then all these beautiful, nature comes to them, which is spirit, because everything is connected to everything else, giving them, the answers to their problem. Beautiful butterfly flying on their face just when they needed that important, change is coming. Dragon, all these beautiful, feathers and all these things, they're all from spirit. The numbers, the numerology, the numbers aren't coming up all the time, or the triple number.
Yes.
Helping us, giving us motivation, giving us reassurance.
Absolutely. It strengthens the connection more and more and more. Again, even if it's not labeled as such, somebody who is spiritual isn't looking for converts.
No.
Somebody who is spiritual is there to support and help people as they walk through their existence. And if helpful, to point out where these synchronicities happen so that people can see a pattern emerging, can see a sense of safety within it, rather than seeing it as alien and something to be scared of, to see actually everything and everyone is connected. Let's find the safety in that. Let's find what joins us, which this absolutely is the fundamental basis of, rather than what separates us. And then we can all move together and feel far happier.
Yes. That's so true. That's so true. It really is. And this is the time. This is the time of unity consciousness and love awareness and, you know, coming together to enhance one another, enhance each other through our gifts. And it's so important what you said, because a true leader does not make followers. A true spiritual healer has to heal themselves first, become the healed healer. But that healer enhances that higher self of the other to therefore help that higher self in that person heal themselves. You know,
Yeah.
we're all here to give them the tools so that they can be and embody their healer within, you know, so that they can embody their spiritual connection within, and to make other leaders and other people who can help others. So it just goes out. Everyone's light starts lighting up.
Well, the point is that we're here to broaden energy, spiritual resonance, to raise the vibration of everything.
Exactly.
And when people realize that you, as you said, you lead by example, you lead through a sense of connection, everything grows. We can see in a physical sense the challenge of that, because whilst we see the growth from the work that people like us do, we can also see that there's the contrast to that. But that is the human experience. We learn through contrast.
Exactly.
And we can see the extent of work and how the work can be approached because of what we're doing. We name ourselves as spiritual, but actually we're just the ones that are at the stage in our particular growth span where it's come to the surface.
Yes,
Where we can make it tangible. It's not tangible, but you know what I mean. We can make it our focus and expand upon it. But doing so whilst we're individually growing, we're never a finished product. Anybody who says, "Oh, you know, I've been through it all and I'm at," and
you're
it's
always
enough.
evolving. It never
Well,
stops.
and the point is that we can't help people unless we personally feel an authentic empathy, not sympathy, an empathy, a connective love that has a vibration which is in parallel. And unless we have that, if we're below it or we're above it without connecting to it, then it is not effective.
Exactly.
So everybody grows. No, as you said before, absolutely right. Nobody's higher or lower. We may be at different stages, but that's all it is. We're just evolving in different ways with different lessons this time.
That's right. And what you said is, and I believe that, you know, we all have to go. I believe that the whole world is going through a dark night of the soul, collectively and individually. We all go through our dark nights, and it's a very lonesome time. You go inward, you go through into the shadow, you look at them dark parts of yourself. You know, you leave your job, you leave your husband, you leave because they aren't part of your growth. You're growing. You need to, you know, lose everything, because the breakdown is the breakthrough, you know, to come through. And the contrast, that contrast brings us to the precipice and forces us to change, forces us to awaken, forces us to look at it. There is a different way, you know, brings us, we lose everything that was not love to bring us back to that place of love, that self-love, you know. Yes. That's what I think. It's just, yes.
It brings us back to the point of what was discussed before, we talked about before, of vulnerability at birth. We need to keep rebirthing ourselves. Everything is by example. Whereas before, on the face of it, it was purely a physical thing. It's not at all. It's an energetic introduction, from my perspective, this time, because I believe in reincarnation very strongly.
So do I.
But the challenges that you were just talking about are rebirths each time. We have to allow ourselves the vulnerability to lean into what is brought to us. Now, again, those who don't feel spiritually aware will say, well, it's just circumstance. Things come in life. Somebody from my perspective, and I'm getting the feeling from yours too, we bring them about ourselves in tandem with spirit.
Yes.
For the purposes of growth.
Self-creation.
And anything new, growing pains, is vulnerable. So we start to depend on ourselves, or let's say the connection we have with our instinct, again, whether we call it just gut instinct or just our minds, or in our case with spirit.
Yes.
But we lean into it, and by doing so, it's rewarded by more being brought to us.
Yes.
Our lives expand, our insight expands, and the ability to help more in pertinent ways becomes more refined.
Exactly, because that's what Rumi said. The wound is where the light enters.
Exactly.
You know, that's what it is. We must go through the dark to raise up and embrace the light, you know.
And absolutely. And the wound, like any physical wound, is there to draw one's attention to healing that's required. So whether it's a physical malaise or physical wound, or whether it is a political something that's going on somewhere, or a disastrous relationship that's going there, they are there for us to learn from. They're not there to punish or create negativity for the sake of negativity.
Yes.
They're there so that we can shine our light and emboss with light and courage and grow and expand together, and to show it on a large scale. Well, a large scale can be within a family dynamic, or it can be on the world stage.
That's right.
But it's about showing, if we perhaps approach it this way, we can bring about balance. Whatever it is that's leading you to work in a negative way, which is fear, another form of fear that comes through aggression or anger or whatever it is, we can make you feel safe by showing that you can have sovereignty. You can feel strong in yourself without then subjugating others or making other people feel bad.
Without becoming a victim.
Totally.
Becoming the creator, you know, and realizing everything is self-created for our higher good, everything we go through. So therefore, we save ourselves, and we have to make peace with it, do the inner work on it, to make peace with it, bring peace into our lives, to bring peace into the world. You know, it's we save ourselves. That's what it says in Mary Magdalene's gospel. That's the 3 words that stood out for me. We save ourselves.
Absolutely. And we do it as an interactive connection with what we're working with. We learn at the same level as they do. It may not be pronounced in the same way. The results may not be so obvious, but we're enhancing ourselves. And that enhancement is not ego. It's humility. It's the opposite.
Yes.
We become more melded into the energy where the mind has no charter.
Yes.
It just isn't anything other than a commentary of this. It's an awareness tool. It's the heart. It's the feeling. It's that euphoria, that sense of integration, of feeling part of everything. And what can be more marvelous than feeling held by everything?
That is so true. And I believe it's not selfishness. It's not a service to self. It's service to others, service to humanity. This is what raises our kundalini more than anything. You know, years ago, the rishis used to go in to the Himalayas and stay in their cave for 50 years and become enlightened. But the world it needs us so much that we cannot do that now. We go into a cave, we enlighten, and we get as much as we can for ourselves, and then we give it out to humanity to help raise them, give them the tools that we've used, the tools on ourselves to raise us. That's what it's all about, service to humanity.
I absolutely agree. I would also say that those who have cloistered themselves away or still do so, whether there is an order of nuns or monks, etc., etc. Whichever,
they're still raising the elevation of
they're
it.
raising the elevation. People often wonder what their role is, and it can be seen to be really self-indulgent. No, they're through their own growth, in the same way as we do in the outside world, through our own learning, we raise our own vibration and that expands, but they're doing it in a very focused way to help all of us.
Yes.
It's not a physical thing.
They're doing it on a higher level because they're giving out so much. They're changing. They are transmuting the negative into the positive.
Exactly.
And that's why we're like householder mediums, householder yogis, because we're doing it. We're doing it in the world, which is quite difficult to keep that balance sometimes.
It is, especially when ego gets in the way. We all know that working in this environment, we come across people who feel that their ability makes them superior and special. When in fact, we're a kind of drain pipe. Well, the work that I do as a medium, I open myself up for spirit to talk through me. I'm a drain pipe. Now, the drain pipe might be an old iron one with sediment, the sediment being my experience and what I resonate with. So it does draw and take that within the water that comes through the pipe. But essentially, we're drain pipes.
Yes.
We're not gods. We're nothing else. We just have an ability in the way that pianists do or singers do. Yes. It's just what we've chosen this time to do.
Yes, we're God's children because we have the divine spark, the soul within. We are the God.
As does everybody.
We have that. Yes, we all have that. We all have that. But we are the vessels of bringing the divine love light energy and giving it out.
It's also for anybody who is interested in this work for themselves rather than an intellectual thing. We all have the ability. It's the degree to which our minds and our cultures, everything that we've adopted will allow the simmering down of needing to answer everything. Because this isn't about answers. This is more about questions and involved experience than answers. It's not about satisfying the fearful mind of I need to know, and I need to have the answers, and that needs to be controlled, etc. It's the opposite. It's the relinquishing of that.
Surrendering. It's the surrendering. Yes.
Which is why I'm so happy to see that certain elements of the scientific fraternity are allowing that more and more.
Well, spirituality and science, they're coming together now.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because for those who need that reassurance, who need to have proof in ways which a scientific experiment would not generally prove.
Yes.
There are other proofs, and that's what we're entering into more and more now.
Yeah. And so you are a trance overshadow medium.
Yes.
You help people, through spiritual and practical way overviews, for the purpose of their life, understand the karmic and past life history to overcome problems. Can you describe that? A trance overshadow medium. How does that happen?
It's an expansion of what I had from a little one. It's a feeling. I will, depending on the kind of work. So there's a difference between trance and overshadow. And there are different levels of trance as well. So trance is where you allow yourself to get into a meditative state whereby your mind is quietened and your awareness is from the areas we were talking about before, the heart and the instinct mostly. So we have, as I'm sure everybody listening is likely to know, that we have an energy around us, the auric. And within that are energy centers called the chakras. And depending on where the energy is focused, or the entry point, is the type of communication or insight or information that we receive. When we then focus on those access points rather than the interaction with the mind, we can receive information which the mind wouldn't be privy to. And that's what trance does.
Yes.
So by getting into a meditative state, it slows down the thinking process, which then takes away the second guessing, the assumptions, the rational, and so forth, to something which is direct, that you just feel it.
Yes.
And a trance medium will allow their guide or guides to use this center, the throat chakra, and the heart and solar plexus chakras often, to allow that stream of information to come directly out. Now, as I said, there are different forms of trance medium. Some go into such a deep trance, they don't know what on earth is going on. It's like a sleep. And the voice comes through using their vocal cords, giving information and having an interaction with the person sitting there. Then there is a lighter version of that, which is what I am.
Yes.
Where you're sort of sitting to the side, you're witnessing it, but you feel it. You just allow the feeling to come through your heart, your instinct, out of your mouth, and you'll have a conversation, but the conversation is your guide. Yes. It sounds a lot spookier than it is.
Yes, yes.
Some people will receive from a guide who's chosen a particular incarnation, and that person may be from abroad, and may have a slightly different voice or a totally different voice. It can be a subtle thing. Mine apparently doesn't change tremendously. It gets slightly tighter, I've been told. Then overshadow mediumship is a collaborative work. So the groups that I've run, circles that I've run, have been that, where I get into a meditative state, but not as deeply as with trance. And I feel words coming through, but I also am aware that I'm drawing from my experience as well, but it's spontaneous. There's no thinking time. Any authentic mediumship is instantaneous. When people have to think, when there are lots of ums and ahs, it's where the brain is getting involved. Yes. And you know that it's not authentic. It's different from psychic work. Psychic work is where auras have an exchange, where the psychic will draw back and forth from the aura of the person in front of them. And then there will be a sense of trying to work out what's being shown, what's being drawn. That's not the same with this kind of work at all.
Yes, that's beautiful, because the more, stilling the mind and getting out of the thinking, becoming you're becoming the observer, just being in alignment. When you get into that peaceful, aligned state, you're allowing divine intelligence, spirit, guides to come in, and I believe it comes in, like, sometimes it could come in many ways. It could come in through the pineal photons of light energy as information that makes you, go on to, that helps you with a problem. That's what, Einstein, he used to say, the biggest times I got my influence was when I closed my eyes and became quiet.
Absolutely.
When you got out of the thinking mind, that's so important.
Absolutely. And there are times when you don't even necessarily need to do that.
Yeah.
You can be doing something. In fact, I've had some of my best interactions and downloads of information when I've been doing something really mundane.
Mm.
And I have to say, I have this dreadful addiction for a particular game on my phone. It's a solitaire. It couldn't be simpler, but it's fantastic because it diverts the thinking process. It focuses and it allows information to come through. It's you can be doing anything which is mundane, repetitive. It doesn't have to be pronounced and profound and, oh, wow, there's a lightning moment. Not at all.
No.
You can be in the shower,
Yeah.
and you just have that sense of knowing something is being imparted to you.
Yes.
Conveyed to you at that window.
Yes. I mean, in the book Conversations with God, which is just incredible, it says God is talking, spirit is talking to you all the time. But who listens? Who trusts that voice? And now I'm trusting it more and more and more, because I realize the difference between the egoic mind voice and the spirit guide higher self voice, and it's the first intuitive instinct, the loving, the peaceful one, which comes through, because we wake up every day to either go with that lower voice or the true one. It's our choice, isn't it? And it's really important to not disregard it. Oh, it's just no. It's your self-talk. Your self-talk is you, your higher self, talking to you through spirit.
Yes.
Trust in that.
It's no coincidence, which I don't believe in whatsoever. I've had too much happen.
No, synchronicities.
Totally. It's no coincidence to see that we are at the greatest time of distraction. We have all sorts of things to distract us, whether it's our phones or advertising, everything to entertain us. It's no coincidence that this is happening at the same time that the growth for spiritual connection is also at its most pronounced. Not religion.
No, spirituality.
It's showing that contrast between you can run away from yourself, run away from your frightened feelings, run away from your circumstances.
Escape.
Or you can run towards the bully, which is what we need to do, to run towards it, but with a sense of support. It's not the vulnerability of, oh, I'm going to get beaten up. It's the vulnerability of, I might start to see where my strengths are that my mind tells me I don't have. Excuse me.
Yes.
It's that contrast of the darkness and light, yin and yang, that is becoming so ever present, because it shows us what the lesson is. We don't need to search for it. As you said, we have choices. We can listen to our fundamental, that beautiful glinting river coming or stream coming over a brook. We can align with the relaxation, the support, the natural feeling, or we can go at tangents and be proved time again, because things repeat,
Yes.
that it's not the productive way forward in any sense, internally or in terms of what you're trying to achieve. The ego is not the way forward.
No.
The ego is overreaching itself and trying to deafen out that constant awakener through conscience or different formats or love, ebullience, that is the thing to align with, not fear.
Yes, that's so true. It's just trusting in that, because when you do that, it becomes bigger, and you're in that place more and more and more and more, and you're letting go of them, we can use ego. We need the ego to live in this world of duality. Yeah. But we use it as a tool,
We do.
not let it control us, because that's not who we truly are. We are a divine soul, it's
exactly. The ego is there to keep us safe in terms of what has come before us, to try and draw from that.
Mm.
Whereas when we realize, we understand that we are not at any stage in our lives the sum of, that this is the pinnacle, wherever we are, we can forget everything that's come before. It's the pinnacle. That's the ego saying, I'm in charge, I know everything. As opposed to actually, we are layer upon layer upon layer of everything that we've experienced, whether we're conscious of it or not, and that we can use that as a library to move forward in the same way that history is not, oh, it's just gone. It's there to teach us where things have been productive and we've been able to expand, or where we've contracted. But use it, respect it, that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
And we don't remember everything. We remember only when we go into that library, because we remind ourselves. It's the same with ourselves, that it is not vulnerable to be childlike again, to remember those sensations, to remember what gave us a sense of being able to move forward and what didn't.
Yes.
That is what we need to remember. We are beings and spirit with infinite resources, whether from purely this incarnation or all the others.
I believe it's a culmination. All them, we call them samskaras, that keep us on the birth, death, rebirth wheel, that you keep reincarnating over again. But it's like, I believe that all the past lives, and we've had many, they give us a little bit. We needed to learn that in that life. We needed to learn that in that life. And then it goes thousands of incarnations to eventually come to this life where we awaken. And we actually live out, you as a medium, me as a spiritual teacher, that we couldn't do before in any of them other lives, because people killed us, wasn't right. We wasn't in this time of with allowing time of speaking about these wonderful things and living it. So that's why it's so important to do your work, because then you realize your purpose. And that's what you help people do, through your mediumship. You help them understand their karmic life history, which is, I think that's really important, but and their purpose in life,
Yes, and particularly for those who don't feel they have a purpose, or there's a sense of, well, it's all very good saying this is spiritual, but what about the abuse I received? What about the terrible, poor conditions that I found myself in? It sounds very privileged. No, from my perspective and my experience, the harsh things, the challenges that we experience are those where we can grow the most.
Exactly. Sorry to say, but that's what Buddha said. You learn through the suffering, through the woundedness.
Absolutely. And look at how many teachers in the past moved away from the distraction of materialism, who chose to have a much harsher path because they saw that they were working in a much closer way with what the earth plane provides, rather than insulating by separation, by having things that others don't have, experiences that they can choose to have rather than be faced with. It's the greatest nutrition, spiritual nutrition, is by working with those things that are the harshest. But rather than moving from a place or living in a place of victimhood and requirement from other people's resources purely by receiving, it's about working with, by having the intention to enhance regardless of the circumstances.
Exactly.
It's about embellishing and moving forward from whatever you have in your life. And it is always possible, but it's the attitude that is the springboard to that.
That is so true. And it doesn't matter what you've been through, how how many people have hurt you or how many you have hurt. You are a child of God. We can all begin again. And sometimes, as you said, the light workers, the spiritual people, we have to go through a lot because it's like preparing us. We have to be prepared. Goddess is preparing us for this job. And as long as you can always keep your open, loving heart, it cracks. That's what the wound does. The wound lets the light in, but the wound also cracks your heart open.
Yeah.
For you to love yourself and therefore know that self-love really, what we did before was just not see that loving side of ourselves. We only saw the limiting. The darkness stopped us seeing our light. And when that cracks open, then you can, acknowledge and forgive yourself as well as forgive everyone else, because we're all
absolutely. It's fear will prompt the person to metaphorically close their eyes, which will keep everything within. All of that pain, all of that fear, all of that worry, all of that self-protection will be in. It's like clenching the fists. But if you have the courage to open your eyes, and by that, I mean open your heart, you will then allow the interaction to happen, which will mean that circumstances will start to expand. Rather than being like this, it'll be, oh, wow, I can move my arms. I can feel the air going. I can hold somebody. I can hug somebody. I can have interaction. It's not just me against my circumstance or the world, but I am providing an opportunity for more to come. And the more that comes to me, I will be uplifted by, and I will want to share that message with everybody else. Yes. And that is exactly what happened in my story.
Yes.
Frightened boy, little boy, with mixed messages and events which were really quite affecting, to being able to find the humility to be open to something beyond. It's when you get to that point of not being addicted to your own circumstances, addicted to your own way of thinking, but it reaches the point, the lowest point, to use the analogy of being an addict, where you have got to try something else. You have got to reach out because it's do or die.
There's no other way. There's no other way. It's only upwards now. You've gone to the bottom. You can only go upwards. And that's what the contrast does. It forces you, the suffering, the wounded, it forces you, it forces you to move out of your comfort zone. Otherwise you wouldn't move. You wouldn't go and be that person that God has destined you to be, that your soul chose for you before you incarnated.
Absolutely. Well, the soul,
your divine mission, to complete your divine, you won't do that. You won't move.
The soul is hungry for balance. That's what it's searching for. Equilibrium in all things, so that there's knowledge of both sides. That's what the earth plane presents. Experience and witness of different sides to come to a consensus in balance.
Yes.
If we don't have those harsh experiences, we don't know the pleasure of comfort and peace of mind and so forth. And if you have too much, you will never know what it is that you're going to be able to grow into.
That's right.
Everything is about finding that balance in all things. And that requires vulnerability and presence.
Yes. And that's what I believe. Enlightenment, self-realization, alignment, gnosis. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's that bringing together of, we're in this world of duality, light, dark, masculine, feminine, everything has its opposite. So within us, it's the bringing together of those light and dark aspects, the masculine and feminine, the good and bad, bringing them together. Enlightenment is the balance, is the wholeness, just what you said, is the wholeness between. And that's the middle path. That's the point, where you can.
Where we eventually find our self expanded to a point of no requirement.
Yes. Well, you're
It's
whole. You're holy. You're whole.
exactly.
Really whole. You know,
There's
you,
no dependence. There is no there's no requirement. It
yes,
is just being and then experiencing all sorts of other things which are in existence. Everything is in existence,
yeah.
whether it's a different dimension, in my opinion, different planets,
Mm,
different. There is nothing that is not possible. But
that's right.
since we're working on the basis of the earth plane, where the ego is very parochial, everything has to be contained because that's what feels safe, and answers have to be found. Everything is limited. There can't be anything else. Well, there is infinite.
That's right. Infinite possibility. But it's all in your belief. You know, that's what Jesus said. What you believe, so shall it be. And what you give out, you will receive back, because this is the cause and effect universe, you know. So it's so important. I believe that we're here to become the master of our individual thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Because then once you become righteous and you want to make sacred thoughts, feelings, words, and actions to give it to yourself and to your fellow brothers and sisters in this world, then only goodness can come back. You know, it's like, and then we can't cause harm on another or conflict on another, because you realize we're all one. There's only one soul shared by all of us. And you'll be making conflict on that, on yourself.
Well,
You know,
it's pain. Who wants pain?
yeah, no,
It's choosing to have pain or to inflict pain on others because it somehow props us up. Whereas when we let go the need to be propped up, there's no need to be aggressive. It's the opposite. It's a question of understanding that our happiness lies through generosity, not restriction.
that's so beautiful. Absolutely true. That is so true. And that's what we're all here to learn, you know. And it doesn't matter, you know, there'll be obstacles, there'll be problems, but, you know, just come back to yourself, to that place, to that inner place where peace and bliss and protection lies, you know, and just rise up and persevere and never give up and never give in to your intention and your dream, because you are a creator. You were made in the image of God, Goddess, who created this incredible realm. So therefore, you create your own life.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
We let go of. We realize that we're spirit despite walking the human plane.
Yes.
That's the point. It's the getting to the point of non-reliance on the physical objects, non-reliance on the validation of other people, that our contentment is in the original state, and that we're just here as tourists for a while. We're here to experience.
Yeah.
We're here to mirror each other.
Mm.
We learn from each other if we have an awareness of that. And there's nutrition in every nanosecond of our conscious mind, our conscious experience whilst we're on the earth plane. It all depends on the approach that we take. Are we just here from 0 to 85? And we go through the motions of, you know, we go through school and then we have this relationship and then we have a partner and then we, you know, all of these things. We go to the supermarket 3 times a week or whatever it is, but it has no purpose. We're worm food at the end of it, as opposed to take the protection of that away, the rationalizing it away, and have the courage to work with that voice inside, your feelings. Nothing is better than the upliftment of love and the connection, which is not dependent upon anybody else or anything else to stimulate you. It is moving into that quiet understanding and familial, your real family, feeling of inclusion and safety and generosity, and that everything is possible.
Yes.
It's just how you feel.
Yes. And also not to be afraid. You know, I speak to my spirit guides all the time, my angels and my ancestors who are my spirit guides, you know, and all the time. That connection is so important to me, but it's a very personal connection. You go within and you know that it's beautiful. But we all have that connection, but we have to, you have to acknowledge them. I believe you have to acknowledge them, and you have to ask for their guidance. Before they can come in,
Yes.
So making that space, quietening, getting that still mind space for them to come in, being the channel allows that connection.
I would also say that people who aren't necessarily on an overt spiritual path, but wish to experience more and perhaps work from the perspective that we're talking about without necessarily becoming a practitioner,
Yep.
etc. The key to it is, and it does sound a bit cheesy, but it is about opening to love more, to connecting with people more, to being more you rather than me. It's about wishing to meet at people's level without any kind of judgment, but just two souls, two humans, just getting together and not needing to need from them, but to give. There's nothing more glorious than giving.
Yes.
Even if you do that, you consciously wish to connect with people at a deeper level rather than the surface of the mundane, the pedestrian, but to understand what makes people tick. Now, that might automatically be a feeling of, oh, I'm not like that, I'm this, that, and the other. But to go further with, that's interesting. What makes that person that way? Why? What makes me the way I am? And then to understand, to witness how life can perhaps put artificial layers upon what we all are, which is one.
Yes.
As we were saying before, there's no hierarchy.
Yeah.
It's just different experiences, different approaches, different lessons. But when we try and take off the packaging to find the commonality so that they can, two rivers can get rid of the dam and they can meet together and flow as one and flow in the same direction and experience and have light glinting from them in different ways, but nevertheless in harmony, in unison, that is where real satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment and joy and replenishment happen. That's really where it happens.
Absolutely beautiful and profound. Yes, Anthony, that is just so lovely. That is so lovely. And for the last bit, I'd like you to please tell us, about Spirit Academy and where we can book a wonderful, incredible session with you.
Thank you. Spirit Academy was founded by a fantastic medium healer called Jamie Coombs. We met because I was running a circle and she came to it and was a regular, and we connected immediately. The way that we operate, our energies worked very, very well. They blended very well. And she decided that she felt that there was a requirement for people to find somewhere where they can have more insight into their lives and healing in ways which are approachable, different ways, so that people don't have to go down a particular route, that they can have different approaches and a mixture of different approaches under one umbrella.
Yes.
So Jamie asked if I would be interested in becoming part of that. Myself and other practitioners to work with her in this way, so that we meet people. They have a consultation where they share what it is that's where they are and what it is they're looking for. And between us, Jamie and I then come up with a plan and discuss it with them of what we would propose, why we would propose it, and go from there. And it works very, very well. It works extremely well. It can be a talking thing. It can be a physical thing, through different modalities of healing. I myself, apart from the mediumship we talk about, I do a form of channel healing where energy comes through me.
Beautiful.
And it can work one-on-one. It's a non-touch form of healing that I do. There are different forms that the Academy offers. But I've also worked with people as far as Australia.
Absent.
From here.
Yeah.
It's
all about the intention, giving out that love light energy. Yeah. Wow.
I also help people develop their own mediumship, their own abilities.
That is important. Yeah.
And I give talks on, as I'm doing today, on spiritual matters, on the meaning of life, from different perspectives and so forth. So that's what the Academy does.
Honestly, I just want to say, Antony, thank you for such your deep wisdom and insight about life and spirituality. And I just loved talking with you, on this higher spiritual, wonderful level. You've taught me, and it was just very, very, very wonderful to listen to you, and for all of our audience to learn about mediumship and to demystify and take away the fear. So thank you so much for being on the Great Awakening show.
It's been such a pleasure for me, such a pleasure to connect with you. And I really do hope that your audience gets something from this, that it inspires a sense within them to explore or expand their own spiritual life. I've enjoyed it immensely, so thank you.
Thank you. Wow.